Big thanks to Nintendo for providing the review copy of Super Mario Odyssey. And just a quick note before we get started here, this is a completely spoiler-free review. We're going to be showing footage from the trailers that has already been released, so no new footage, no spoilers, just a good review of the game to give you an idea of what you're about to experience and what Super Mario Odyssey is all about. The moment has finally arrived, my friends. Super Mario Odyssey is here, and we are ready to give you our review. The Switch has had an epic first year, from Zelda Breath of the Wild to Splatoon 2. Is this game the best of the bunch? I'm your host, Zach, and Jake is here from Switch Force to tell you what we think. Whew, it's been a lot of freaking moon collecting over the last week, huh, Jake?
Yeah, there's so many more. Like, that's the thing. Like, obviously, this is going to be a totally spoiler-free review here, but yeah, I mean, it's been crazy, but in a good way.
Absolutely. So I figured we would start off just kind of with our general impressions and then go into how this Mario compares to past Marios, if it really signals a new generation, a new era of Mario, and then kind of dive into some more of the deeper details in terms of kingdoms, in terms of post-gaming content. Again, spoiler-free, don't you worry. We don't want to ruin the experience for you. I think right off the bat, I can say it was absolutely magical and magnificent to once again dive into such a big, bold Mario. Like, the feeling of starting this game off was something I haven't had in quite a while. And that's not to really say anything bad about 3D World or Galaxy 2, but since Galaxy 1, I feel like I haven't had that wow moment with a 3D Mario, and here it definitely hit me full force.
Yeah, I mean, this may be the most impactful Mario in my experience. Because there was times literally I got shivers, like I got chills because I was like so excited and so into it. And it just delivers on every front. I remember there was times when we were afraid at like seeing it the first time at E3 and maybe there's only 4 kingdoms and maybe it looks too easy and the moons are too close together. And I can confidently say that the game completely wipes any of those doubts out of my mind and surpasses all of my expectations.
Yeah, which that's like the best thing you can possibly say about Super Mario Odyssey, that it surpasses expectations, especially given the fact that I think, you know, after Breath of the Wild, with the success of the Switch, with the hype for this game, expectations were climbing pretty darn to a maximum, right? To a mountain peak. And yet this somehow reaches those heights and then more. And my favorite thing has to be the way that diversity and variety constantly hits you. And I think they did such a smart job of helping you flow through the kingdoms fast. I didn't know how quickly you would be, you know, traversing from kingdom to kingdom. And while you can obviously spend as much time as you want, and you'll need to go back and you'll want to collect more, I love the fact that from the get-go, it's just like hitting you over the head with new ideas, new creative captures, new kingdoms, brand new areas, new ways of acquiring moons. Like, it just seems like they packed all of their ideas into such a beautiful package.
Yeah, I was going to say, the name of the game is definitely variety. We knew from E3, they said that they were just messing around with different mechanics, and they found that the Cappy mechanic, capturing other enemies and playing as them, was the most fun, and then they kind of built the game around that, and it definitely feels like that, where each kingdom is incredibly diverse, incredibly different from the last. It has new enemies, new mechanics to explore, new colors, everything is just totally different, yeah, like you said, like, you can move through it pretty quickly if you want to, but you can also, you know, take the time to collect as many moons as you want if you want to kind of go and get a bunch before you move on, or if you just want to get through to the end of the game and then go back and collect. But I really am impressed with how they were able to make it a game that is kind of a collectathon, but not in the sense of, you know, traditional collectathons. There's just a lot to collect and explore, and it's, you know, more of a modern feel of like open world where you can go at your own pace, you can go where you want, you can explore where you want and when you want. But it still has the Mario roots and the Mario feel 100% of the way through. Like, it's not, it's this like perfect blend. It's not just a Mario game that's super linear or, you know, just typical Mario moon collecting or star collecting. And it's not, they kind of threw it all out the window and went with something totally new, kind of like how Breath of the Wild did. But it's just this perfect blend where it feels like a Mario game through and through, but it's the next generation. It's this bigger, better world that keeps expanding as you continue to play through.
Yeah, that's a really great way to describe it. I feel like it truly is an evolution rather than a replacement, an evolution, but I do think it has some similarities to how Breath of the Wild elevated Zelda by expanding. I feel like Mario does that as well without emptying the game, if that makes sense. Like it's not just like, oh, giant swaths of land to run around and kind of, it feels a little slower. Like it's very fast paced. It's very dense at points too. I mean, a lot of those kingdoms are just chock full of, like, you can get moons right next to each other. It's open in the sense that there's little challenges all over the place, while still having more of those linear missions, while still having the variety, while still having the levels. I don't know. It really feels like they packed in, like I said, their best ideas and the best elements of Mario's into Odyssey.
Yeah, and 2 things real quick. There's times like in Breath of the Wild where you kind of have downtime and it's more of like explore. Like there's, like you were talking about, big open spaces that you can kind of go at your own pace and think and find things, or collect things. Mario Odyssey, around every corner there's something to do. There's something in your face. There's an enemy. There's a door you can go through. There's a moon to collect. There's coins to grab. Like there's always something, even though it's a big space and you're constantly exploring. And the second thing I wanted to bring up is it feels like a Mario game because they constantly are bringing in older elements, old themes, old costumes, old characters from Mario's past, which is an amazing past, into Mario Odyssey, and just kind of blending them in and merging them with this big open world. And like I said before, the more you play it, the bigger it grows, and it doesn't feel like they kind of were like, oh, we want to turn Mario on its head. It's like they want to make Mario's head even bigger. They just kind of blew it up. It's just Mario, but bigger and better in every way.
Right, and it does start off pretty simple. I will say that I had a little bit of nerves in terms of the difficulty level, and you start seeing those moons, and you're like, gosh, is this going to be simple? But I think the fact to stress, without spoiling anything, is this game is massive. So if you are worried about, oh gosh, it's going too fast, oh gosh, I'm collecting too much, oh gosh, is this going to be over before I know it? Fear not. Fear not at all, because this is a humongous game. It's a gorgeous game. I got chills, just like you mentioned. There's so many really good moments. I think the Bowser interactions are epic, and I really love Mario's moveset. I know we had some concerns about the controls, and you in particular, D3, said you felt like he was a little bit slippery, a little slidey. Mm-hmm. To me, I don't know how you felt after beating it, but I like how he controls. I feel like after I got like the hang of it in the beginning, yeah, he was a little bit, I don't know if floaty is the word, because Mario's very tight, but maybe a little fast. Yeah. But now, like, I love his moveset. I love some of the new things he's got going on. I love, the roll. I think that's great to cover some bigger spaces. I love the ground pound jump. I love that they've incorporated, again, things from all the other games, and even in some of the secrets as well. So it really comes together as, like, maybe the best Mario.
Yeah, I mean, you could say for nostalgic sake there's better Marios, but in terms of you just look at it for what it has in it and the content, and we were talking about the difficulty at the beginning, fear not, because the game ramps up over time, and then in the post game, it doesn't ramp up, it jumps. It just starts hopping levels. So yeah. And the thing you're talking about, the controls, I didn't feel as much. I felt much better about it. And the weird thing is I played the entire game with split Joy-Con, which is the first game on the Switch that I've really done that with, because of
That's the recommended way. When you start the game, they recommend you play that way. Yeah.
Right. But it's just interesting because, like, every game you kind of sit down and you usually play the Pro Controller or grip. But there's a lot of cool perspective changes, and like you have to be kind of changing your perspective, and there are some challenging platforming sections where it does feel like Mario has fast feet and he's kind of moving a little bit extra after you move him around, but I think it just all adds to the total package. You get used to it so fast that it's not really an issue.
Right, and they do combine in, you've seen in a lot of the trailers, like sort of the 2D sections that harken back to NES Mario Brothers. They combine in, these more open elements. They combine in the costumes and the currencies, and then they also bring in some of the, I don't know if you want to call them challenge rooms, but sort of more of the indoor areas that are reminiscent of things like, more of like the Mario Sunshine challenge rooms, or things that are platform heavy, I guess I should say.
Well,
while also incorporating mini games and things that are new styles of races, new styles of challenges that Mario has not done before.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it never gets old. Like, even for Breath of the Wild, like, I love that game, but there was times where, like, okay, I don't really want to ride a horse all the way across the map to go find a shrine or something like that. Mario,
it's because of the density here. Like, there's really no wasted space.
And the innovation is around every corner. Like, even at the end of the game, when you think that you've done everything, they still give you new things to do, new challenges, and not just like, oh, a new room, but like totally new. You have to play the game completely different. You have to think completely different and use all of your knowledge of like how Mario can interact with the world. And I think that's just ingenious.
Yeah. And I love how there's spectacle here. I would say that something, Mario is more of a moment to moment, and the spectacle is like, hey, I really did this like awesome jump, or I had this great series of dodges, and then I avoided this enemy. Here they definitely put in more specifically designed spectacle moments. I can think of one in particular towards the wrap up of the Metro Kingdom that is just mind-blowingly cool. And there's more like that where I feel like they really focused on delivering, like you said, kind of like spectacle, forced perspective, like some things where they wanted you to have this like awe-inspiring moment. And I love that because it is that perfect mix of like open while still directed. And I think that's where it reminds me of Breath of the Wild, there are like shrines and there are dungeons that are very directed and guided and traditional. And yet there's also this open element that is new. How did you feel about the bosses? I know that's something that people were very curious about. The Brutals are there, obviously Bowser's there. Without going into, specific details, how do you rate the bosses this time around?
I think that they're on the easier end. I think that they are one of the easier parts of the game. I think the platforming levels and definitely the post game is much more challenging. The bosses are fun though. They are very well themed to the area and have some unique mechanics, but they're nothing that's going to be going to take you many tries. But yeah,
there's a lot of optional bosses as well, ones that are tied to specific moons in the level that aren't forced. Like the Brutals are forced to progress through the story, and the Bowsers are forced to progress through the story. But there's also side bosses that I found, honestly, those to be where I got more of my boss enjoyment.
Yeah, and without saying too much, I'm not going to say anything about specifics, but do you want me to talk about the post-game like a little bit?
Yeah, let's go into that a bit. So obviously there is a story that takes you through, I don't know, a good chunk of moons. I don't even want to get into numbers in case people are worried about wondering and want to keep that as a surprise. But let's put it this way. There are a boatload of moons, and you have to get a fraction of them to complete the game proper. Yes. Then you can go back and get all those other moons. But beyond that, once you do beat the game, it opens up what many are calling, and I think you would call, Jake, maybe the biggest post-game Mario has ever seen.
Yeah, and I'm not even through all the post-game, and I've put tons of time into this game right now. But there's just more. You get rewarded even after you complete the game by the number of moons you're collecting. And like I said, it starts getting very difficult. There are some incredibly difficult platforming challenges, battle challenges that will really put your Mario skills to the test. And it does, while it's not continuing the story, there's just things that you wouldn't expect. Like, okay, everybody had these rumors about what they were thinking Mario Odyssey would have in it. Would this character be in it? Would that character be in it? Would this place be in it? Would that place be in it? And they basically took all those ideas without, like, beforehand and were like, okay, we're going to do it, but in ways you're not going to expect at all. Like, you're going to, okay, maybe you, like, no, we know Mushroom Kingdom's in it, but, like, the way you interact with it is totally new and unique. And it's just so cool how to see that they really was like they sat down on a table and like, okay, here's all the characters we have in Mario, here's all the mechanics, here's all the worlds. How can we make this the biggest, most enjoyable experience for our players? It's almost like a present to the players that, like, if you've been with us for a long time, you will know all the references. If you haven't been with us, you will enjoy this world so much.
That's awesome. And again, it's hard to talk around, but there is, besides just like, oh, more moons, there are ways that the game expands after you beat the story proper that are pretty cool, and will add hours upon hours to this. So it unfolds in more than one way once you beat it, I guess.
Last thing I'm going to say is it's one of the only games that makes me want to go back and collect everything for more than just the sake of collecting it. Like, there's some games where, there's like things you can collect 100% just to say you got the 100%. But this game finds ways, Super Mario Odyssey finds ways to reward you to the point that you really, really want to go back and play every moon, experience every moon, every character, everything. It's incredible the way they did it.
Yes. All right, let's talk a little about, quickly, kingdoms and captures. Do you feel like Cappy was a worthwhile central idea? Do you feel like
yes.
that? Okay.
Oh God,
me too.
Yes.
I'd say me too. And at times, like, it's so game changing that there would be moments where I'd be like, oh, I can't do this. And I'd be like, wait, I totally can. I got to go capture that guy and bring him over here.
Yep.
Because it's things that you could never do in a Mario, or things that you're not traditionally expecting the plumber to be able to pull off. And then you're like, wait, I now have this arsenal that is so expansive and so creative that I can accomplish things in such unique ways. And I feel like they do a really good job about making sure that the captures stay as fresh as the kingdoms themselves.
Oh yeah, that they put specific character or capturable enemies in specific kingdoms, and they're all diverse. And like you said, it's things that you can never do in a Mario game before. And like, oh, some people will be like, it's just like Kirby or something where you're just going through it. But no, it's not that you're capturing enemies and like every enemy can kind of do the same thing, complete the same task. Oh, beat the other enemies or break down a barrier or something like that. Every single enemy that they let you capture has a very specific mechanic that they can do and nobody else can, and it will get you to places and be able to do things that no other character can. So it's incredible to see how they were able to accomplish that.
Yeah. Favorite kingdom of the known kingdoms?
Of the known kingdoms, I really like the Lake Kingdom. It's smaller and kind of simple, but there's just some interesting mechanics that I wasn't expecting. And it's pretty early on. So of the known kingdoms, I can't say like the unknown kingdoms, but
right.
It was a nice surprise because I didn't really know what to expect. I was kind of fearful of it. That was gonna be a totally underwater kingdom, and that can kind of be like sometimes in Mario games. But I thought it was really cool how they did it.
Yeah, I really liked Wooded Kingdom, surprisingly. That's one that was shown quite a bit, but I found that to be just like really fun. That for me felt the most like a Mario 64 level, and I think my nostalgia really appreciated that, and I found that just to be a really exciting kingdom because it's very vertical, yet that verticality can be approached sort of from all sides, and I thought that the way the map kind of all linked together was very cool. And like, oh, now I'm here. Oh, I was here before, but now I'm just in this like slightly higher area that I couldn't get, and I had access from this side of kind of the mountain. A very like a nice throwback while still being massive because you have these giant trees and things you wouldn't expect.
Snow and Luncheon are also really cool. Like there's some really cool platforming and elements in those two that like you wouldn't normally expect.
Yeah, there's very few that, I mean, if any, that like are ho-hum. I think in general, they're able to introduce things and visually, right? Like it's also just a visually striking game. And I love what they did with presentation this time of making it this adventure, really capitalizing on the fact that you are journeying across this whole world of Mario.
Yeah.
And like they provide the brochures and the maps and the little like tidbits and the little fun anecdotes. And that's super cool as well.
Yeah, it really builds on itself too, like as you're journeying through. And any kingdom that you think is ho-hum, it grows and it changes as you progress through the game, and if you go back and visit it, even post-game. So, like, even the environment and, like, things you can do are totally new and different. So you always are you know, you can go back and experience it in a new way every time. And the story, like you were saying, is not anything epic. It's not like, there's, like, twists and turns. But there are things that are unexpected for a Mario game. And it is, like you were saying, incredibly well-themed and makes you feel like you really are on this, like, almost, like, just weird, like, just journey that you're going on with Mario. You're trying to save things as opposed to just, you know, that you're going from the beginning to the end, and at the end you're going to fight Bowser and stop him, and that's it. Like, it's a much more in-depth story with a lot of more surprises.
Absolutely. And we could go on and on for ages. There's so much to talk about, and we'll make a spoiler review as well for those of you who do want to hear all of the nitty-gritty details. We'll probably save that a couple days down the road, but we will then go into the post-game, go into favorite bosses, things of that sort. Final thoughts on this. I mean, I think, you know, if we had to score this, it's hard for me to ever give a 10 out of 10, but to me, I think Breath of the Wild had more of a wow moment factor when you first began, but I think overall enjoyment, like I found myself giddy and just like over the moon so frequently in Mario Odyssey. For me, it's my favorite Switch game.
Yeah, me too. I want to keep playing it. Like I don't want to stop, and I don't want to like forget
There's no
about
lulls. Like it
Right.
keeps, it just keeps coming at you, and that's the
reward
impressive
system
thing
is
about
just so good.
Yeah, that's the impressive thing about the post game is that it just keeps coming at you, and at this point, we don't even know where it stops, which is kind of crazy.
Well, we know kind of the limit to the moons. There's not infinite moons.
Yeah, okay, well, sure. I just mean what all is going to be unlocked, but
right.
Man, this is one massive adventure. It is one masterpiece adventure. I think Nintendo hit a home run here. Any concerns you had, out the window. The Switch somehow is this
stomped on.
Yeah, the Switch is somehow this just magic box that procures this amazing Zelda and this incredible Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and this glorious Splatoon 2 and now this Mario game that is I don't like deeming something the best or the worst right away. I think it needs time to sort of really sort of sit and simmer in your head, but it's up there. It's
any expectation for me, this is how I would describe it, my final thoughts. Any expectation that you had for Super Mario Odyssey, you need to like multiply by 4 because it is that surprising, that awe-inspiring, and that rewarding and huge. It's crazy how like I did so many theory videos on it and talked about it and thought about it and analyzed it so much, and it's more than I ever expected, and there's more surprises than I expected. It's so impressive.
There you go. It is I think it stands as the ultimate must-have Switch game. Breath of the Wild, yes, phenomenal, definitely a must-have. But for these Switch Force reviewers, Super Mario Odyssey takes the new crown as king of the Switch, and we are so excited to share more with you. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you're pumped for Mario. It's Game of the Year is going to be real interesting this year, but man, I think Mario just took the lead. So get pumped, get excited. If you're playing it tomorrow, you are in for a real treat. If you're playing it later this holiday, you're still in for an incredible surprise. So Super Mario Odyssey, if I had to score it, I'm looking like a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know. Can there ever be a perfect game?
I don't know.
This is up there. I mean, it's like 9.9. It's like it's right there.
The Mario Miyamoto Nintendo magic just seeping and oozing out of every level, every turn, every corner. So go experience it for yourself. We're not going to say any more. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day, everybody. For myself and Jake and Super Mario Odyssey, Switch Force out.